Guys, what's going on? Welcome to Serial at Midnight. My name is Heath, and I am tremendously excited because we are here to announce. It's an announcement. It's a celebration. We've got three giants of independent cinema here. Fred OLEN RAY, the man, the myth, the legend. Welcome.
Hello and welcome to you as well.
We have J.R. Bookwalter here as well.
Hey Heath, how's it going? Good to be with you again.
And we have David Sterling. David, what's going on?
Hey guys, how are you? Glad to see everyone this morning. Haven't seen anyone in a while, so this is great.
So the purpose of this is to announce the MAKEFLIX.com Black Friday sale, which is going to have, it's going to be a massive event. We're going to talk all about it, but I also want to talk about the importance of supporting independent cinema, the importance of supporting independent storefronts. You know, Amazon is kind of the giant in the marketplace, but it's more important than ever to celebrate and to support creators that are providing like a direct channel to the fans. Fred, I was kind of wondering, you know, you've been in the business for a long time. You've been making movies for over 40 years, and you have a lot of experience, not just in making the movies, but in selling them as well. Can you talk a little bit about independent distribution and maybe some of the struggles or what you've encountered over the years?
Well, you know, almost everybody starts in. You almost always have to get your feet wet and prove that you know what you're doing before someone else will give you the money. But I always said that I was a product of the home video boom in the 80s. You know, I was making films before VHS and those things came around. You know, I made Alien Dead in 1987. But, you know, as I was doing these movies for Trans World Entertainment, they also had a home video line. And I saw how much they were making off of my movies, like The Tomb and Commando Squad and stuff. And I thought, boy, I would like to get in on that. And since I was a very thrifty person, I came into this business as a very poor, young, struggling person with a 4-year-old child and no wife or family to speak of. I had saved all my money because I didn't know how to spend my paychecks. When I started making money, I didn't know what to do with it because I'd never had any money. So it was all in the bank. So I was able to start making my own films and fund them and myself for the most part. And I kind of learned distribution the hard way.
Let's enter MakeFlix here. J.R. Bookwalter. So am I correct in understanding that MakeFlix is kind of your baby?
It's all my baby, yes. It's mostly a one-man band here for the most part. But, you know, MakeFlix I had killed my Tempe direct store because I thought it was too niche, maybe is the word for it. So MakeFlix was kind of born out of the frustration of dealing with the traditional distribution system, which is basically, for all intents and purposes, it's all consignment, but they expect you to send thousands of units to wholesalers and then probably not sell all those and you get a bunch of stuff back like 2 years later. And I didn't like that system. So, and I know Fred's dealt with it and I know Dave's dealt with that system too. And it's just not a very productive way to do business and not a very financially lucrative way to do business at times. So that's why I started MakeFlix, was there's got to be a better way to do it. And I mean, there's a way, you know, the point is you just don't sell, you don't take 1,000 units from somebody if you know you can't sell them. I guess that's, you know, that's kind of the drill.
How much control do you, when you send things like that out, if you send something to Amazon, that's the one I think a lot of us think of. Do you have any control over what happens with that stock when it goes to them, or if it makes it to them in today's supply chain?
No, you don't. I mean, you don't. The computers are doing the ordering. I learned this years ago when I was dealing with a company which Fred has also dealt with, called Ventura, and they would get some of my stuff into Best Buy, Dead and Rotting, and things like Witch House 3, I think was one of them. But they had computers that did the ordering, so they would just order 800 units, you know, or whatever, and you're like, oh, okay, it must be selling, right? Well, not necessarily. They're just putting them on the shelf, and if people don't buy them, then they're going to come back to you. So, you know, I quickly piled up a bunch of DVDs that, you know, weren't selling at retail and tried to, you know, channel them back through another way, you know. But Amazon's the same way. It's all I get these huge orders for new releases, And I don't ship all that stuff to them anymore because I know that they're not going to sell it all. You know, I'll send them less quantity, wait for that to sell, and then they'll constantly reorder. The computer just keeps spitting out purchase orders.
Yeah, and you know, with Best Buy was a great place. It was one of our major outlets, but eventually some titles would come back, and you'd have to buy them back if you didn't have a reserve in place that was large enough. They used to hold back, I don't know what was it 10% or something against returns, and sometimes the what they were sending back exceeded that. One time I paid $8,000 to take a pallet back of stuff, and when it came back, it was all full of stickers. It was just a mess. If you think you're going to get them back and turn around and sell them again, they would all come back with all kinds of stickers all over them. You know, 3 or 4 different types of stickers and stuff, and they were a real mess when they would come back. And of course, as we learned with Ventura Distribution, the 10% holdback was supposed to be liquidated every quarter, with the first holdback being 6 months. And we found they weren't returning the reserves. And when the reserves finally hit $225,000, we sued them, and we won. And we were the first to sue them, and probably the only people to sue them that actually got the money. We got it in one check, and I bought a new house. But I heard that other people had sued them to the point where they eventually went bankrupt. But I don't think anybody else ever got the payout from Ventura that we did. And that's when Cliff McMillan was there. And I liked Cliff, but I remember him telling somebody, and it came back to me during the middle of this trial or arbitration. He said, "Fred's a nice guy, but he's gonna lose." It turned out to be the opposite. Then they tried to sell me my own product back for $1 a piece. I said, "No, thanks."
Yeah, a lot of times you wind up paying those companies money to buy your own product back.
Well, I wouldn't do it, but they flooded the market, of course, with liquidations. You know, they sold off everything they had mine in stock for 10 cents on the dollar. So for years, I couldn't sell anything because everybody had hundreds of copies of them. And they were selling them for $2 a piece. You know.
David, do you have any horror stories, any distribution horror stories? I know you prefer to sell directly. You have MAKEFLIX, and then you also like to deal directly with the customer.
Yeah, I'm a little different than these kings of the business. I started out when I came to California, originally from Chicago. I was a producer for hire, and like Fred said, my first couple movies, you know, I got me and a couple guys and were making some movies, and then I went over to Vista Street, who did the Witchcraft series, and they took on my first movie. And then Jerry Pfeiffer, who's still alive, thank God, he goes, "Hey, I'll give you X amount of dollars." It wasn't nothing, but you go out and make a movie, and you don't got to spend your own money. And then I just kind of fell into where I was making movies for distributors. They were giving me money. I was taking some money for myself, you know, producer fee, producer for hire. And and that's what I did for many years. I didn't want to get into distribution because I didn't think I could do both. But after about when streaming came in, technology, I'd go on for an hour, but I won't. In 2014, I decided I had a friend who was in the music video distribution. And he goes, "This is how you do it." So I started 2014. So I'm a little late to the game, but and I decided after working with distributors, I've made films and I've done every, you know, made a film, give it to a distributor, not get paid, whatever. But I started just small, very small, just doing direct, you know, on Facebook. Hey, you want to buy a copy or whatever for like whatever. So then it started working, you know, and then so I'm a little late to the game. And what I learned is I have low inventory. You know, I have on demand, and that seems the way to go right now. You know, since there's DVD Rs, and Blu-ray Rs or whatever. So my dad was in business for a long time, and I saw what a warehouse was, and when you have inventory, it costs you money. So it might cost me more for the inventory, but I don't have to store it anywhere.
This is a perfect opportunity to ask you guys a question about streaming, because I feel like the fans would kill me if I didn't ask this question. Obviously, the market has changed over the years. We've gone from, videotape to DVD, and now things have changed so much. Now streaming is an option. How do you guys feel as creators? Does streaming allow you, obviously there's a disc market, there's a streaming market as well. Where do you think the place for that is for each of you? I'll start with Fred. Fred, what do you think about streaming?
I haven't done a lot. I'm just now starting to get into Tubi and stuff. I've done a lot of overseas streaming where I've taken flat fees and sold 10 to 20 movies at a time of the sort of late night Cinemax shows. And that's been okay. Domestically, I got my feet wet in Amazon putting up a platform. But I mean, I've got about 5, 6, 7 really good shows on there, and they only generate $300 a month. And the one thing that worked for us, and it really comes down sometimes, I really believe it, is to who's doing it. We have a movie called Super Shark that I financed and raised the money and made myself, so I own it. And it's been handled by Stars, who then was acquired by Lionsgate. And Super Shark in streaming has done very well. I mean, the streaming income has been almost 50% of the cost of the film itself. So while I don't think that's tremendous over 5 years or 6, 7 years, whatever it's been, it's still, I'll say that we picked up almost 5 figures on our latest the latest check, which we just dispersed to our partners the other day. So, if it's somebody good, because that's the problem with anything. You have to trust somebody to tell you that this is what it is. This is what you sold. This is how much came in. And if you can't verify it, you have to take their word for it. So it really gets down to me, who you're doing business with.
JR, what about you? We've talked about this a little bit before, but I'd love
Yeah, I mean, like 3 years ago, I was ready to ditch physical media altogether and just go with streaming. And that was right about the time Amazon decided to start jerking independent creators around and pulling titles without any explanation. So I got really sour on streaming. Now, as a fan and a collector, I have a huge digital collection. I'm all into movies anywhere. I buy stuff constantly. I have way more digital movies than I have, or streaming movies than I have in my physical collection by this point. But as a independent, businessman, it is not a system that is designed for people like us. It's designed for the studios, much like everything else has been, throughout history. And I agree with Fred. It's just there's not a ton of money to be made in it. Every once in a while, something might hit, but otherwise it's very difficult. And the higher up the tier you go, like I've put some stuff on iTunes that did, shockingly little business, and you had a lot of expenses to actually get it there in the first place. So it's surprising that things like Tubi, which people are watching for free, it's all ad supported or whatever, generates more money than people buying stuff on iTunes, even if you make it $4.99 or whatever. So it's a very weird system, and it just depends on which platform or platforms you're dealing with.
I used to equate it to Dawn of the Dead, when there's no more room in hell. That's what happened to VHS. VHS was a hungry monster that would take almost anything at any quality level. It was so hot, but eventually the shelves became full, and all of a sudden, all the little guys got wiped out. And that's where we believed at the time that if we could survive this kind of purge that would get rid of all the people who shouldn't be in the business, if we could survive that purge, we would be okay. And we did. It was around the early 1990s. And I feel like, if you look back, Netflix was kind of like Tubi is now. Netflix initially would take all kinds of products, low-end stuff that was questionable because they needed to fill the shelves. Tubi's like that right now. There's stuff on Tubi that is almost unwatchable. It's very amateurish, but they're taking everything because they've got holes to fill. And what's going to happen, I believe, is that Tubi will eventually become like VHS and Netflix. They will fill up, and then they will start making critical decisions about the quality levels of what they're offering. And people, I think, are going to find that like Amazon and like Netflix and like the VHS industry, people are gonna start finding their product taken down off Tubi eventually. Right now, it's a Wild West show, and I would encourage everyone who has a product that they might could get on there to go ahead and get on there, because I think in a few years it'll be like JR said, it'll just be the domain of studio films and bigger films, and these little films that you see, I'm not going to name any of them, but they're going to be pulled and be set aside like Netflix did to all the independents, and like Amazon's doing to the independents now. But right now, Tubi's hungry and they're trying to mass product. But once they have what they think is sufficient, they're going to start weeding out the ones that they feel are underperformers.
Well, all that just kind of goes to show how it's more important than ever to be able to have that channel directly to the public, directly to your customers, and enter MakeFlix with outstanding customer service and a deep catalog. And JR, you told me once that your goal with MakeFlix was to be sort of a hub for independent creators to get their stuff out to the people. You want to talk about that for just a second?
I didn't want it to be a situation where I was licensing movies. I've done that before, and it's soul crushing, because you might pick up some movie that you really, really love and it doesn't do any business. So I thought it was better to just, approach a number of people, a curated selection of people, and just, say, hey, let's sell your movies through this outlet. Of course, I started with my own catalog because that was the easiest way to do it. But then I just kind of picked up people as I went along, and other filmmakers knew other filmmakers and that kind of thing. So that's how it's just been kind of snowball. I mean, it really picked up steam last year around this time when I started handling Fred's stuff, because that kind of kicked things up another notch, because his catalog is very diverse. He's got I kept adding a couple of titles at a time, and it's over the course of the last year, now we're selling everything from the Retro Media label. So. But yeah, I just wanted to approach it a different way. I didn't want to be a licensor. I just wanted to be a guy who's selling movies for whatever I help to build, share it with everybody else that's in the same boat as I am. Because Fred was having problems with Amazon. Dave, I'm sure, has probably had his own frustrations with selling directly. It's not easy to do. So if I can create a sort of a hub where all of us can kind of do the same thing, yet operate independently, and that's kind of the key thing. Is everybody has their own business. I'm just kind of a sun that everybody's gravitating around, I guess, just one of, many solar systems.
Well, let's announce some titles. Let's talk about what's coming up for the Black Friday holiday, because there's a lot of great things happening, and I'm tremendously excited about it. Fred, let's start with the Retro Media stuff. Retro Media titles traditionally don't really go on sale, but there will be Retro Media titles in this sale.
I'm not sure which ones they are. JR would be a better one to tell you what ones we're selling, but I do know that a lot of those titles we're selling, that's it. I'm not repressing them. These are the last copies. The Jack-O-Lantern, and it's a triple feature. It's a double disc set, and I know that's one of them, which we do not plan to press again. And there's a bunch of Blu-rays and stuff that we're just cleaning out. Anything that's at a certain product level, we're just letting it go. So there you have it. And I don't plan to do anything on Amazon. I'm not changing my pricing on Amazon for any of these. So if you want this price, you'll have to go to JR.
That's the way I like it. No, there'll be 14 Retro Media titles, and they'll all be $9.99. So that's at the absolute cheapest that they've been. And there's some really good, it's all good stuff, but there's stuff that you would not expect to be on sale will be on sale. So something to look forward to. I'm not going to tease any titles just now. Fred already teased one, but
I want to say this, Fred. I want to talk about the diversity of that catalog, because that's something that JR mentioned. You are also, you've got your own films that you're able to distribute. You've got some of the stuff that we've talked about a lot of stuff, but you are also a classic monster movie, you're one of the keepers of the flame, and you pop up on I saw you talking about Rondo Hatton on the recent Spider-Woman Strikes Back Blu-ray. You know a lot about old monster movies, and you have some of the best prints on the Retro Media label of a lot of Teenagers from Outer Space. You do a great job preserving monster movie history too, and I wanted to say thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. we if we can find what I consider to be an original print that's nice and sharp and clean, and we work on them a lot. I mean, we do a lot of specs and scratch removal and getting the hiss out of the soundtracks and stuff like that. And I kind of I'm a person who I don't like Spider-Woman Strikes Back. I want that. Do I want to pay $24.99 for a 60-minute movie? Those things should be double features, and so that's what we do. You know, if we get hold of something good, we'll hold it till we have a second feature, so that, you know, and you'll pay $16.99, and it'll be a double feature. The whole idea, because I loved Beast with a Million Eyes, and I had to have it. $24.99 for a 60-minute movie. I mean, I literally could finish a martini. It takes longer than it did to watch that movie, and then all of a sudden it was over, and I went, okay. But I enjoy doing it. People contact me. They're not always our biggest sellers, but people do seem to appreciate them.
JR, let's talk about you've got some big announcements too. You want to take the floor here?
Sure. Well, I guess the big one this year is Bloodletting, which is coming out as a signature edition Blu-ray. It's been completely restored from the original mini DV tapes. There's a trailer floating around. I think Heath has some clips from that he may sprinkle throughout this, but definitely the best that thing's ever looked in the, since it was shot in 1996. So there's that to look forward. That'll be actually a bundle with a secret title. Well, it's not really secret anymore, I guess, but I'm unleashing all of my old Super 8 short films on Blu-ray for the first time ever. 2K scan, restored just like the other stuff. Why anybody would want to see this stuff, I don't know. But if you want it, you got to buy it with Bloodletting. So it's a two-for deal. So there you go.
David, what about you? What you got coming up for the Black Friday holiday?
So I've been running I got 2 new box sets coming out. I work a lot with Joe Sherlock and his Skullface Astronaut. So we're doing a 6 Blu-ray box with really great artwork of 6 of the movies. And then we're doing a 10 DVD box set with different artwork and really cool artwork. I don't show artwork until after the pre-sale. It's just something I do. So that hopefully Sunday or Monday will show the artwork, and we've been pre-selling. So those will probably go regular prep, but in my Kanaki store where I got a lot of movies, there'll be a sale going on there. And then we're doing some stuff with MAKEFLIX, which me and JR are still deciding, but that should be. I really like working with JR, and I like working with Fred. I did a movie with Fred Represaurus, so and I actually got a credit on JR's movie Ozone, so it's like I'm old. But anyways, and then in December, if we get it, I think so. There's 3 new Axe Brainer movies that I made this year, so we'll have, instead of 2 in the box, we'll have 5 Blu-rays, and there's Things 666 coming out next week to add to either your thing set or your collection. I'm in the collectibles. I do things a little different than the other guys. I'm not saying they're better or worse. I just like I don't really have a lot of patience for stuff. So, and I kind of like where everything's going directly. So if I get if movie's up on streaming, I'll do a lease deal with somebody. I have a Vimeo site that we do okay. And we're adding more movies. And but I'm trying to scale up. So I'm doing more collectibles, and I got some other box sets that we're working on. That's the direction I'm going right now until things change. And as the other guys know, everything changes. So I'm going to do box sets until I can't do them anymore. And then I'll either stop making movies or I'll just do something else. It's like my movies are. I know what they are. I'm aware of, like, some are good, some are not so good. But what I try to do is, like, it's more than the movie now. It's the whole experience. Because a lot of times, I have a lot of DVDs on my wall. I don't watch most of them, but it's fun to collect stuff. It's like collecting toys or anything else. So it's like I'm trying to do things different. I don't do stuff on Amazon. I am on eBay. But MakeFlix and Facebook, Vimeo, and Kanaki are my main things. It seems smaller than most people, but it's more direct. I don't gotta fight with distributors to get my money from. We all done that. From day one. So.
Do you want to talk about a certain revenge, shot on video revenge movie that you maybe have coming out?
Of course, I did a movie in the '96 called Revenge of the Wife that never really came out. It's been out, but never really like a release. So Matt, yes, Future Films, I think, and JR works a lot with Matt, and Matt's a great guy. Matt's a younger guy, and he's a real great guy. And we're doing some stuff. He goes, I want some of your movies. So I had Revenge of the Wife that never got a release, a good release. And he did a great job. And I don't know if JR, I don't know if you helped him or not, but I thought the print always looked good for being shot on Super VHS. But he really did a great job, and the artwork's fantastic. And that's coming out, I think, Black Friday on MakeFlix. Only exclusive. So
JR, tell people, so what's the countdown begins, right? This is gonna, people are seeing this hopefully on Monday before Black Friday. When does the action begin?
Well, we're gonna let you enjoy your turkey on Thanksgiving, and then you can buy turkeys at midnight on Friday, Black Friday, and it'll run all you like that all through Monday, through Cyber Monday. So it ends at midnight the following Tuesday. So you got plenty of time. But I will caution you that some quantities are limited on certain titles. So Fred mentioned Jacko, the DVD for Jacko. That one is a limited one. So buy when you can. You can stay up till midnight. You can get first crack at everything.
Last year during the Black Friday sale, I was on my phone as it was going live. I was like, oh, I gotta get this. I think I ended up placing maybe 2 orders that night. So or that early morning, whatever it is, but I'm excited about it. Any final words, you guys? Fred, OLEN RAY, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. The knowledge and the history that you have in this business is staggering. Thank you for being here.
No, that's great. If I was to point out anything, I would like to point out that all retro media titles are glass mastered. We don't do any burn on demand. We don't do any manufactured on demand. Although JR and I have been talking about doing some MakeFlix exclusives because he has more faith in those things than I do. But every retro title is glass mastered, and we've never ever made a burn on demand release
yet. You forgot.
Yeah. Well, I promised somebody today. I told somebody today they were bugging me one more time about Blanche Film Monster, and I said it's already authored. I said I'm going to do a deal with MakeFlix, and you can get it from them. So we have to talk about doing that.
Yeah, particulars. Yeah. I mean, Dave and I obviously are big believers in the MOD route because you just make it when you sell it, essentially.
Gentlemen, it is a pleasure to watch you guys talk shop. I'm going to put everybody's social media links, websites in the description of this video. But anything else that you want me to cover before we let people synchronize the countdown to the sale? Anything you want to get in there before we go?
Not me.
I think we covered it all.
Gentlemen, thank you for taking the time to do this. Guys watching at home, it's almost time. Make sure you check out the sale. So many deals, so many great films from these independent creators. Let's celebrate independent film. Let's celebrate independent storefronts and make this a success. Let's talk about what you're going to pick up in the comments below. So, gentlemen, thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it. And for you guys at home, take care as well. And until next time, we will catch you.
Thank
you, David.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.